Our very last entry for this unit is called solving systems of linear inequalities, which is very similar to solving a system of linear equations by graphing. What we're going to do is we're going to graph the inequalities in the coordinate plane, and instead of it being where they cross, that point they have in common, it's where their shaded regions cross, right? Because we shade inequalities. And let's see how that works. We've got some step-by-step directions here. So, a system of linear inequalities is a set of two or more inequalities made up of two or more variables. Solutions to a system of linear inequalities are the ordered pairs that satisfy all of the linear inequalities in the system of solutions. Okay. Now, ways to solve. We're first going to write each of the inequalities in slope-intercept form. The two that I'm going to do with you, this one, both of these are in slope-intercept form. This one here, they're both in standard form, so we're going to have to do some shuffling around. Let's start with this one now. We've got step one, they're both in slope-intercept form. Graph each linear inequality and shade the correct side of each line. So, let's look at this first one. Y is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so, we've got this or equal. So it's going to be a horizontal line through 2, and it's going to be a solid line right through 2. And the area that I would shade is the area above, because it's all the values greater. So I'm shading this area, and I'm actually going to shade it in another color. I'll shade it in blue. Okay. Now let's do this one. Y is less than 4x minus 1. So I start at my y-intercept, which is negative 1. And I use my slope of 4. So that's up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. Or I could have gone down 1, 2, 3, 4 until left 1. And I draw that line. Now this line is going to be dashed because it's not or equal to. So as I have my ruler, I'm just going to kind of lift up my pen every couple of spots to make a nice dashed line. Get some arrows here. Now this one is less than 4x minus 1. So that means I'm shading the values below that line. Okay, so below that line would be over here. Another way you could test it if you want to test out 0, 0 to figure out which way to shade is 0 less than 4 times 0 minus 1. 0 less than negative 1. No, it is not. So I wouldn't shade over here. I'd shade this area. Which means that I'm shading down. Now the solution is the area that they cross. Where is it true for both? Right? It's true up here for the first one and over here for the second one. So what section do they have in common? And that's this section here. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to really shade that in so I know and everyone knows that this is the solution. Okay? If you're using a pencil, you can erase this part and erase this part. If you're using a pen, it becomes a little bit more difficult. I have a erasable pen, so it's pretty easy for me to erase. Okay. But what's important is the area where the solution is a point that is, or the region that's true for both the first and the second equation, which would be this region right here. As I mentioned previously, right, the first step is to make sure these are in slope-intercept form, and here they are not, so I want to change that. Let's work with the first equation over here. 3x minus 2y is greater than 8. Subtract 3x from both sides. And I've got negative 2y. It's greater than negative 3x plus 8. Divide everything by negative 2. Negative 2. Negative 2. Negative 2. In that first equation, I'm going to write it down here so I have some more space. My first equation changes into y is less than, because I have to flip-flop that, 3 over 2x minus 4. And now I want you to try doing the second one. So pause the video, try doing that one on your own. When you come back, we'll do it together. You can go through my solution, see if you did it the same way. So for that second one, what I did is I subtracted x from both sides. That left me with negative 4y is less than or equal to negative x plus 16. Then I divided everything by negative 4. And that left me with y is now greater than or equal to 1/4 x minus 4. Our next step is to graph both of those inequalities. So we're going to treat these like equal signs. And we have y equals mx plus b. So we start at negative 4. And we use our slope of rise over run to go up 3 over 2. And then we have that line. Now that's a dashed line because it is a less than symbol. So as I go, I'm just going to kind of pick up my pen, draw my arrows. Okay. Now I have kind of a way to, or a method that I use to make it so this isn't as messy to look at the solution. And that's, instead of shading in the whole region, what I'll do is, I notice this is y is less than. Okay, so it's going to be all the values below the line. Instead of shading this all in, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw an arrow coming off of that line, so I know that this should all be shaded in. And now let's do the second inequality. We've got y is greater than or equal to 1/4 x minus 4. So that means, again, I start at negative 4 and I go up 1 over 4, up 1 over 4. So it'd be a little off the coordinate plane. I can go down 1 to the left 4. Now that one is or equal to. One kind of trick you can use is if you see a solid line here, it means you're going to be making a solid line here. So let's graph in that one, or draw in that one. So for that one, it is a greater than or equal to, which means that I will be shading the region above that line. Okay, so above. So now when I look back at those little arrows that I drew, which ones are pointing at each other? These ones here. So this is the region that I would want to use. So all the solutions in here should satisfy both of these inequalities. Okay, so your goal is to do these two systems. You notice here, okay, be careful of some negatives that you've got. Neither of them are in slope-intercept form. In this one, okay, it's not a typo. there are 3 inequalities. It means you're going to have 3 lines and have to figure out where all 3 of those are shaded in common. So not just 2, now you have 3. So it puts a little added twist to it. Now that you've got all 4 problems done, you're going to cut out those rectangles, and what you'll do is you'll glue this one down. Okay. Then you're going to glue just the gluing tab of this one, okay, over this, and then on top like a gluing tab again, just like that. And you're going to cut out this, you'll cut a line through there, okay, it'll just kind of stack on top of itself. So once it's finished being glued in, you should be able to lift that up. Lift that up. Got some examples. Lift this one up. Lift this one up. Okay. And either this can be your title, or you can write a title up here. I'm probably going to write a title up here. You know, it's kind of redundant. I just like having a title above this line. Okay. And that's it for this unit. So your next goal is going to be to study all of the entries that we've done and prepare yourself for the unit assessment.